Another ultimate how to be a pro in Strife Battlefield guys series. In this video, I'm going to be going over the monsters and assaults and things like that. We're going to go straight into it. Previous video, we kind of talked about fates and strats, and then we already talked about UI. So you guys, the UI should be familiar to you. You kind of understand fates, strats, you know, things like that. And we're going to be going through monsters. As a reminder, if you didn't watch my UI video, I did mention it, but we're going to be focusing only on monsters today, boys. Okay, only on monsters in this video. So this is going to be your monster bench. These three spots are the monsters that you are activating to send to your opponents, and this cauldron thing is your discard. So you drag monsters in this cauldron to discard them, and then you have your monster shop to the right. So let's open up that monster shop when we can. So this is your monster shop. This is your rarity of your monster. So each monster has a rarity. You can see this Dragon Slayer henchman has a rarity of 1, 1, 1, and that makes sense because we are level 1. We are strat level 1. It's correlated to our level, right, in Strife Battlefield. So at level 1, that means that we can only get 1 rarity monsters. It's 100%. That means 100% chance that it will appear. And it doesn't matter however many times we refresh this shop, it's 100% chance that it's going to be a rarity 1 type of monster. So we can't get these 0% until we level up our strat level. Okay, boys? And then this down here is our tokens that we can use to buy said monster, that it will replenish. These will always replenish up to max. Okay, so you can see that our max is 10. And if you are paying attention, we always start off with 3. Okay, you start with 3, and then for every round after that, your cap gets increased up until you have all 10. Okay, so 10 is the max. So you can spin stuff. You can actually keep this menu open, as you can see as I'm talking. Buy things, right? It says purchase complete. Purchase. You can actually purchase something, reroll if you want. You can uses a token to reroll, and stuff like that. So anything that you buy. So right now, I kind of want to showcase this before I leave the screen. I bought 2 of these things. That means I have 0 tokens to spend on this round. When the round ends, it will replenish, right? So let's just wait for that to come up. So the round is going on in the background right now. You can kind of see. And then boom, I got defeated, and then you'll see this get replenished back up +1, right? Because we don't have 10 yet. Boom. Can't really see it now, but see, you can kind of see it replenishing. Boom. Right. So now we have what? 7 to spin. So you can buy. You can buy 2 monsters and then refresh, or refresh and then buy 2 monsters, or buy a monster, refresh, buy a monster. It's up to you, right? So you can do that. You can refresh, and then you're like, ooh, okay, get this, right? And they have different abilities and things like that. So talking about some of the UI things. So each monster has a rarity, right? They have a name, how many things it summons when you send it to your opponent, their type of monster, and then how much strat they give you, strat XP they give you when you summon them. Okay, meaning that so I've been buying things, right? It gets locked in our bench, and if we buy things right now, so I have a full bench right now, and they're just sitting there. They're never activated. It's like, for me to get this activation, I need to actually drag them to this. I need to actually activate it and send it. And as a reminder, sword and shield. Sword is the person that right here, you can see the sword. This is the person, whatever monster that I'm summoning, will be sending it to this guy's field for this round. And then the defending is their monsters that they're activating, they're sending it to me, right? And that's what the sword and shield is. So I actually have to drag a monster into this spot, and it won't let me drag it now because the round is occurring. So I have to drag it and activate it, right? To actually get the effect and to get that strat XP. This is the fate thing that we went over already. You can kind of see I have the power selection. Just to kind of reiterate that, you can kind of see what was going on, right? We're building on the foundation that we've been building, right? And then just the more online we can select our strats, and things like that. It's full circle. So now by this time, maybe you are more familiar with the UI and things are more familiar to you because we talked about it, right? So yeah, just back to the monsters. In order to get this 5 strat, right, you need to actually send it. You need to activate it. So you need to put it here and then activate. You see that activation text, right? Boom, activation. So it adds to our strat XP. And now, since you have the fire thing around it, you see the fire effect, that means that for this round, these 2 monsters will be sent to this person, right? And you can actually see them on the field and stuff like that. And also something to note is that you can't buy more than your inventory, right? So your bench right here, your inventory, you can only hold 5 monsters. So you have to summon them or discard them and put them in the trash. There are some cases, but more times than not, if you want to free up some space, it is 10 times better. Usually, if you can, is to summon it first to get the summoning stone activation and then discard it, right? And you can cycle your monster like management that way, and then you can buy new ones. Like say if you really want this one, but you can't, right? But you don't really you don't want to summon, then you just summon, buy, and then you can manage it that way. There are some instances where you want to hold monsters, right? A lot of people, they kind of just summon and just send stuff every round, right? And you can do that to start off because you don't really know what to keep and stuff. Typically, you want to save your big bad boys, typically bosses. You want to hoard them and then dump it on somebody when they have higher heat, usually around 250, 300. Is when you kind of want to dump your bosses, like three big bosses. You can get bosses, by the way. You can get Odin and things like that. They're very strong. Like say, for example, you're holding on 3 Odins and you're you're like keeping an eye on this guy and maybe he's like neck and neck with you for first place and you wait for him to be like 250 heat is 250, 300 is when it starts getting really difficult to clear that round, right? Especially with 3 bosses. So you're like, say for example, these are 3 Odins and you're like, okay, now's the time. So you just dump it all 3 and then you can see the XP happening. You can get a new new strat and things like that. But these 3 Odins right here, supposedly, right, if they're in theory, it will be all sent to this guy, and then this guy is gonna have such a hard time clearing that. It's very difficult, especially with high heat. So rule of thumb is that you definitely don't want to send your big units, like your kill units, like your bosses. Like say, for example, you're holding Odins, right? Odins, chapter 9 boss. You don't want to send them to. You don't want to throw them away to to attack a 4th place person. You want to save them for your competitor that you're going neck and neck with, and you want to send it to them when they have higher heat. You never want to send bosses to someone who have low heat. And if you remember, when you lose your heat streak, and heat is bad, right? Heat is making it harder for you to play. The lower heat you have, the easier the monsters are, right? So when a player just lost a round, that means their heat is dramatically reduced. So that means monsters for them are going to be really easy. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? I just lost. So that's the idea. So whenever someone just lost a round, their heat level is a lot lower than what it was. So you don't want to send your big bad boss units to those players who just lost a round, because they can clear that following round so easy, so freaking easy. Now, of course, I'm talking this in a standpoint of like competitive, and when you actually know, when everyone in the lobby knows what they're doing, this is how you play Strife Battlefield. This is how you play it, boys. I don't know. Like, of course, in low elo, everyone's just playing whatever, and no one knows what they're doing. Okay, they're just playing. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about if you're in high elo and you're actually playing this in like a meta like play style, right? And that is what. That's what you do. So that makes sense, right? Hopefully. And yeah, you just buy monsters and stuff like that, and there's so many monsters in these units with new chapters that come out. they actually take out some existing summons and then add the new chapter units in there, and it kind of spices up the game more and things like that. So they add like the new bosses and stuff like that to Strife Battlefield, right? So there is a rotation. Like this one is the Eastern chapter, right, in season 2, and they all have unique effects. They all have new effects that kind of like breath of fresh air, I'd say. So the Eastern Army ones, it's their effect. I'm not going to go through all of them. You guys can play around and read it for themselves. So the Eastern Army one, all of them kind of have like this unique thing where you actually want to keep them on the bench. And the longer you keep them on the bench, they transform into a better unit with a better effect. So this one's a really, really popular OP one, but they nerfed it, but it's still pretty good, where you see this promoted after X round right here. So you want to keep it on your bench. You don't want to immediately summon this, okay, boys? So for this unit, you want to keep it on your bench, and then it will transform after a certain amount of time. And then when it transforms, you use it, and then you get something. So for this one, you get a bunch of gold, or silver rather. And then there's one that gives you a buttload of experience. There's one that gives you refreshes. That is the only unit that gives you more strat refreshes, and things like that. So a lot of cool effects. This one, Freezing Totem, chapter 9, Goblin, gives you silver upon activation. There's a lot of synergy with strats too, because there are specific unit strats, right? There's Goblin Lord and things like that. So just experiment and have fun with it, right? This one is part of the newest set, the Dragon Knight one. This one is based around losing a round, which is interesting in itself, right? And this one, when it says no effect, it literally has no effect. So this one, for the Dragon Knight line, you keep it benched, and it only upgrades when you lose a round. And then it upgrades to the next tier, and then a next tier, and then eventually it becomes the boss, right? The chapter whatever boss. And it's very, very, very strong right now. Very, very strong. So yeah, that's it. So there's a bunch of different effects. I kind of want to touch on effects. And then there's another, you have like minus whatever. This one is the reroll thing. You have to use it. There's some basic ones. There's this one, the Dragon Slayer one, which is a stacking benefit. So the more you use this, right? So you want to collect these, you get to increase your damage. And it's like a collecting thing. It's like, over time, which is really cool. This is one of the newer ones, right? The Elador ones. This is based on altars, right? And you summon a bunch of units, and it's revolved around that. It's very cool. There's that, which is an older one. I kind of want it. Is there, see, like this one. Okay. So in addition to all that, there's a bunch of unique effects, and you can figure it out yourself. Actually, I forgot to mention, there is actually a lock function right here, down here on the bottom right. So say, for example, you bought this, and you didn't have enough money to get this, right? Then you can lock it. And what happens is that, it will lock this screen, so next round you can actually buy it, right? Of course, you're losing 2, right? But I mean, you can't buy anything with that anyways. And let's say, for example, you really wanted that wrap, that unit right there, then you can lock it. I forgot to mention that you can lock it. So you can lock it. So this is the other effect that I want to talk about. So there are other effects in the game. I mean, there's a bunch of them, right? So here I talked to you. So this transformed, right? And then this one, I've been losing some rounds, so this one's been upgrading, right? But I wanted to talk about this effect. These are curses, okay? These were introduced in the beginning of the game since the inception of the mode. So this introduced the idea of curses. And the curses are bad effects that are dealt to the enemy, whoever you're sending it to, and it's applied for that round. And they are usually effects like damage over time for the entire round, or silence, like they are MP increase, so they can't insta-cast, and getting rid of all mighty blocks after a set amount of time. So these are curses. So this one, it inflicts a Land of Annihilation Child to the assault target. They don't really tell you what that means, but this is pretty much a ticking damage to all the units, and this is really good for getting rid of mighty blocks. enemy mighty block. So this person is going to get it. So what happens is that you can't really see, you can't see other people's dealt curses, if that makes sense. You can only see curses that are dealt to you, and it will appear up here. Those are those symbols, okay, boys? And sometimes you see these symbols, like for example, silence, and sometimes you see it yellow, right? Yellow means that you have the person sending it to you has the strat Wraith's Curse. Let me see if I can get it. Let's see. Wraith's Curse, please. No. Wraith's Curse, no. No Wraith's Curse. So that means that they have Wraith's Curse, which means that it makes the curses better, basically, right? So more damage or longer duration or what have you. So when it's yellow, that means that person, whoever's sending it to you, has Wraith's Curse, and that means that it's a extended effect, so to speak, right? So in case, someone does that to you, ripperoni. But those are curses. So let's see if I can find another curse. So Dead Struggle is every time that person is CC'd, like the monster, they get mighty blocks, which is okay, honestly. It's not the end of the world. This unit is pretty busted in my opinion. Let's see. We're trying to get cards. Okay, and yeah, trial. The keyword is definitely trial. Depleted mana trial. So this is pretty much increased mana, right? So a lot of units in Strife Battlefield relies off of insta casting, right? And this allows you to make that not happen or make it less happen, right? Let me see. Let's go through some of these real quick. This is just refreshes, extra strat. You can kind of read it and just kind of see. Goblin ones are cool. This is the ticking one. We already saw that one. This one's another one that's OP. This is reduced attack speed, very popular. So this is reduced attack speed, and then reduced attack speed again. So there's stuff like that. And look at that, we lost. So yeah, I think I covered most of monsters. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Now, obviously, I can tell you everything that I know, but it doesn't really stick unless you kind of play around with it. And also, when you're looking at a bunch of monsters, you don't know what's good. So my suggestion is just pick whatever you think it looks good and experiment, because it comes from just naturally playing. Because there's so many monsters. And it's not like I can do a tier list with monsters. That's just way too many stuff. So yeah, just look at the effects and kind of know what they do. Just know that boss monsters are freaking OP. And sending boss monsters to heroes when you want to kill them at high heat, that's pretty much all you really need to know. And there's a strat called Goblin Lord that you kind of want to go for only goblins and things like that. Honestly, there's specific monster types that you go for. Like there's a Dragon Slayer one that's like it increases the cap of your Dragon Slayer stuff. Like the Dragon Slayer, if you remember, it's like the stacking one, right? There you can stack defense, mighty blocks, percent damage, and things like that. So the Dragon Slayer strat increases that cap to give you so that you can get more than what you could have gotten, right, if you didn't have the strat, right? So you can kind of do these builds. Now, are they make or break? Not really. In my opinion, not really. The only one that the specific monster strat that really changes the game, or that really affects it a lot, is Goblin Lord. And the reason why is because Goblin Lord gives you hella high econ. You can build whatever team that you want, and is pretty busted. There's a lot of actions per minute that you need to do for that, but that is literally the only monster specific, like monster specific strat that really is like crazy good, right? At least right now. And of course, like as I mentioned, they always change like the monster pool and like the strat pool and things like that, and the correlation between them. So the old ones, like the manual or whatever ones, are not. Is that strat? No, that strat. Wait, that strat still exists. Yeah, that strat still exists. But like the Nosferatu one, like the vampire one, is out of the pool and things like that. So they rotate it out sometimes. So like the newest one, the Dragon Knight one's actually not bad. The Dragon Knight one's not bad. The manual one, The manual one is like, it's okay. I wouldn't. It used to be really OP, but now it's lost some of the charm. But the only one, like I said, is probably Goblin Lord is the most effective in my opinion. It's probably the most game breaking for sure. And they nerfed it over time and it's still freaking good. So that's probably one that like changes, that really matters in like just on a gameplay perspective. So yeah, I just recommend picking what you think is cool and experiment, right? There's definitely better picks or whatever, but in terms of monsters, the whole, like, all you really need to know really is hoard your big bosses, get big bosses for later rounds, hold them for high heat, stack them, send it all to one player with higher heat, 250-ish or whatever, and that's all you really need to know. You don't want to just go by those rules. You don't want to send your big baddie monsters to people who have low heat or people who just lost a round, right? 9 times out of 10, if you send your big monsters to someone who just lost a round with low heat, they're going to clear it like it's butter, bro. Like it's butter. So that's pretty much it. Next video, I think, man, are we ready to actually talk about team forming? I think so. And then we can, like I said, just keep on playing and just kind of get the feel of it. Naturally, you'll get more comfortable with monsters. Naturally, you'll figure out what strats are kind of like your favorites and things like that. Of course, I'm going to do a strat tier list at the end of this this kind of guide series. That's going to be fun. So look forward to that one. And I think next one we're going to talk about team forming, boys. I think so. And I'm thinking about doing like a real game, like an actual game, not like a cookie cutter build or whatever, like what I use or whatever. And we're going to jump into a real game and see how that goes. That's going to be fun. So anyways, I'm going to end this one here. Thumbs you like this, subs you love it, and see you in the next one, boys. Later.